That you.
Well, that.
Okay, GBA, we are live, we are recording, phone lines are off, you're good to go.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for July 19th, 2022, work session. And we have administrative applications, and I'll read the first one into the record, and it is Justin Burkle, 599 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-070-04-31. And it's to construct a 269 square foot addition to the residence with roof deck and decking located at its closest 133.9 feet from freshwater wetland, and to upgrade the existing sanitary system. Tyler?
Sure. So this is out on Old Montauk Highway. Eleni included an aerial. It's sort of out in the section where that property owners association is up across the street. So these wetlands are across the street down here, pretty far from the property, 130 at the closest point to the additions. The additions are on the rear side of the residence. There is some existing decking, which you can kind of see in gray. I don't know how well you can see it on the screen, but they're sort of around here, the existing decking. They're going to be removing that, doing an addition on the first story, and then a roof deck above that. And then some additional decking and stairs, and then upgrading the sanitary as far away as they can get it. Pretty straightforward as far as applications go.
Any questions, board members?
I don't think so. No, I don't.
I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor of it as well.
I am too. We need a motion.
Yep. Terry, you want
Okay,
to take it?
sure. So for the administrative application, for Justin Burkle at 599 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, tax map 300-070-04-31, and make a motion to allow this to be processed administratively.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Next, we have Daniel Shin at 300 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-019-09-16, and that is to construct a 570 square foot swimming pool and 16 square foot of spa within 150 foot of freshwater wetlands. Tyler?
Sure. So this is right off the golf course. Again, Eleni included an aerial. Right off the golf course there. Wetlands are up in the corner here, which are closest. Also significant wetlands across the street. The swimming pool is located just over 100 feet from the edge of wetlands, well over 150 feet, probably like 160, 170 from across the street. So out of jurisdiction from across the street entirely. So just over 100 feet from the wetlands that are within jurisdiction of the project. Just a swimming pool and spa, and that's all they're in for.
When's that survey from? He recently changed the driveway and drive area.
By April 7th.
Yeah.
Any questions?
How far? He said just over 100 feet? From the golf
Yeah, it's
course?
probably it's probably right at 100 feet from what I can see.
Is there any suggestion to do anything with the back part of the property in terms of a buffer
I
or?
think Eleni was going to discuss a potential buffer with them. There's not much we can do with the property as far as mitigation is concerned, but that is certainly one of the options. I'm not certain if she has or that was a discussion that was going to be coming up.
So you would take that into consideration as an administrative application?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, and then Tyler, he rearranged his driveway, that address. I go past there every day. So would that impact the way you handle things?
It would certainly need a natural resources special permit before they got a CO. Either getting an Nrsp for the change or putting it back to the way it was. I'm not certain with the work that was done, so I can't speak too much on it.
Yeah, okay.
But if it was a gravel driveway, it wouldn't need variances. It would just be a natural resources special permit. So it's possible they may come back for that. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so we're okay with the admin? Yes, I am.
Yes.
I am too. For Daniel Shin, 300 Fairview Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-019-09-16. I make a motion to allow this application to be processed administratively.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. We'll now go into our post-hearing decisions, and we have a number this afternoon to go through. I'll read the first one into the record. The first one is 43 Sandpiper LLC, located at 43 Sandpiper Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-177-01-33. The size and location is 39,088 square feet at 43 Sandpiper Lane, Sea Bluff, Lot 11, map number 2701, Amagansett. The description is to demolish approximately 27 square foot of decking and to construct an 11 square foot of one-story addition and 275 square foot roof deck with access stairs within minimum wetland setbacks and on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation and duneland. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 2 variances are required for this application. Variances of 39 feet and 19 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code in order to construct the proposed addition 61 foot and roof decking 81 foot from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Who's was
Mine.
okay?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board will remember that the hearing for 43 Sandpiper was held on May 17th, 2022. The survey we were working from was from April 15th, 2022. This application requires an Nrsp, as was said by the chair, and 2 variances of 39 and 19 feet. Some of this work was already accomplished at the time that we reviewed this, and we got to see that there was construction underway. The removal of the 27-foot of decking and the 11 square foot at the doorway closure had happened. The 275 square feet of deck and spiral stairs was I should say the client here is the applicant was represented by Rick Whalen, and he pointed out that the 275 square feet of deck and spiral stairs is within existing footprint of the house. Although there's we do have this setbacks, the 2 setbacks of that we have to consider of 39 and 19 feet. The amount of potential damage here does not seem to be too great. As a matter of fact, the TAM quoting here stated that fairly minor change. This is a fairly minor change, and they do not anticipate any significant impact on the environment. I want to see what else here. This house was built in 1985. There was an addition in 1992. There's an 11 square foot of gross floor area increase. Yeah, that's about it in terms of what the actual hard facts in this. So in reviewing it with a reference to 255-8-50, does it represent a significant change to the character of the neighborhood, given the amount of work being done here relative to the architecture of the existing home? I don't think that it does. In reference to 255-5-51, in terms of preservation of natural resources and whether or not an alternative design or an alternative or reasonable use could have been considered, I think that the amount of work being done, again, does not lend itself for us to trigger that as being a way in which we could reimagine this in a different way in terms of what the applicant is asking. And in terms of compatibility and environmental protection, 255-5-40, I don't believe that we're going to see that this is going to cause, as the TAM suggests, any significant impact on the environment. So given that, relative to 43 Sandpiper, I'm willing to move forward and approve this application at this time.
Thank you. Terry?
Well, I agree with fellow board member. One thing though, like the survey date, I had April 15, 2021. I
Okay.
think you said 22.
I wrote 22. If
Yeah,
it's 21,
okay,
I'm
it's
making a
21.
mistake.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it also is minimal impact and don't over or under already existing features of the property. And I do think it meets the natural resource special permit standards. Tyler, the scenic easement on there, that's for the rest of the project, right? That didn't.
That's
wasn't
that's
for this.
existing.
What?
That's existing.
That's existing,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So, I really don't have much to add to that. I think it is a pretty laid out, nicely laid out project. And I too am looking to approve it.
Denise?
I agree. I think these are fairly minor changes to existing conditions on the site. The first floor addition is located under the second story. The proposed roof decking and access is within the existing footprint. And the building lot coverage is only increasing by, I think, just 13 feet. And there's no additional clearing involved as well. And as noted in the TAM, there doesn't appear to be any significant impacts associated with this project. So I feel that it is in compliance with 255-850, 255-551, and 255-540 of the town code. And therefore I approve the Nrsp and the variances and the variance requested.
Thank you. I also agree with my fellow board members. The one concern that I had is really up to the planning department is to verify the project limiting fence, because this is a property with absolute pristine dune vegetation around it and dunes. So that was my concern with doing the project. That, okay, council?
Yes.
Next, we have 24 Jacqueline Drive Company at 24 Jacqueline Drive in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-176-05-06. The size and location is 7,500 square feet at 24 Jacqueline Drive, Beach Hampton, Section 5, Block 20, lots 53 to 55, map number 1763 in Amagansett. The description is to allow an approximately 100 square foot of patio addition, 35 square foot bin, and approximately 37 square foot storage shed to remain within side yard lots line setbacks, front yard lot line setbacks outside of town's pyramid regulation, and within jurisdiction of dune land and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code. 5 variances are required for this application. Variances of 9.4 feet and 2.6 feet are required from 255-1110 of the Town Code in order to allow the existing shed to remain 0.6 feet and bin to remain 7.4 feet from the side yard lot line where 10-foot setbacks are required. Variances of approximately 4.5 feet and 5.5 feet are required from 255-1110 of the Town Code in order to allow the existing shed to remain approximately 25.5 feet and bin to remain approximately 24.5 feet from the front yard lot line where 30-foot setbacks are required. One variance of approximately 5.4 feet is required from 255-1172D of the Town Code in order to allow the existing shed to remain outside the town's pyramid regulations and any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Who's got this one?
I was going to start this one.
Terry, you got it? Thank you.
Whoops, I didn't got on there. Okay, this one, 24 Jacqueline Drive, the hearing was also on May 17th. So on the agent was actually a family member, Moira Casey, that represented the application to us and presented it. And overall,
Terry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Are you having trouble hearing? Yeah.
hello, is that better?
Yeah.
Is that even better? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, this house is a pre-zoning, non-conforming structure built in 1973. Back in 1995, it was still in this family's ownership. They tried to legalize the shed. The application was left incomplete and never pursued. The survey that we have for this was January 28th, 2021, a Walbridge survey. And the Nrsp is for the patio, dune land and vegetation that's in the back of the house. And the shed, two sheds. We'll start with the one shed. The variance needed is 9.4 feet for this one. It's right up against the property line. It's 0.6 feet away from the property line on the it's the north side of the house. It also requires a 5.4-foot pyramid for that same shed. So 3 variances are required for it. The other bin that needs the side yard variance of 7.4 and not 7.4, 2.6 from the side yard. It is 7.4 feet from the northern property line, and both those structures need a slight front yard variance. Overall, I am not in favor of approving the shed that's 0.6 feet from the northern property line. That's a huge ask, even though there's some shrubbery around. It is a rather large shed. It's 6 feet high, and I think it's 12 feet long, and I think it fails to, it's a huge variance, obviously, almost 100% on the pyramid itself. And the side yard. And there are other alternative locations on this property, either in the back where there's already a legally existing brick patio, or there are other brick patios and toward the other side of the house. So I am not in favor of approving that. The other bin, as it was shown in the hearing, the bin is actually kind of a cover for the home's heating system. And that's the 2.6 foot variance from the side yard and 5.5 from the front yard. I am willing to approve that. It seems to be more of an aesthetic thing, and the variances are much smaller than for the other shed. And the Nrsp, the brick, I think the brick patio in the back, it seems to have been there for a long time. I don't think there's any real detriment to allowing it to remain. And so I think I will be approving, the Nrsp. I do think for the Nrsp, it's not going to be any harm. We did discuss at the hearing about having them covenant that nothing would happen on the dune land going in the future. And I would like us to make that a condition of, well, except I'm only approving half of it. So I don't know if we could do that. But
You can make it a
we could discuss
covenant
that.
to
We
what you're
could
approving, yes.
still. Okay.
A condition.
All right. So that's where I am on this one. No to the shed, yes to the bin and the Nrsp.
Thank you. Denise, you good on this one?
I am good on this one. I actually agree with Member Berger. No to the shed that's right on the property line. And I'm okay with the patio addition and also the second bin. I do think, though, we have to be careful. I would like to see things covenanted, because when I initially was reviewing this, my concern was that this Beach Hampton is comprised of numerous non-conforming lots. This is a very small lot. And we could be seeing a trend of similar applications coming before us, and we need to be able to differentiate this lot from others, and I don't want that to become difficult. But I think in this situation, there won't be any negative impact, and I agree with Member Berger's decision as well.
Great, thank you. Ed?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the two fellow board members. I actually spent some time thinking that the shed that's 6.6 feet from the property line was not a particular problem to me, because it goes back so long. It's been there for relatively 45 years. Obviously, whatever impact it had on the environment and impact it had on the neighborhood already existed. But I will say that the nature of the variance required really lends us back to discussing where this board stands on pyramid violations and how we interpret them and how we are being careful about setting any examples. I won't use the word precedent, but examples that can be used by others to say, well, that shed was within there and, you did make them move. I think it's unfortunate that these come up like this and that people who have had a shed for 45 years have to have them moved. However, I do think it's important that where we can defend the pyramid restrictions that we try to impose in town to protect the neighbors, that we move forward on them. We don't always do that, and we have reasons. But in this case here, I think that if this is not much of a permanent structure, a shed can be moved, another spot can be found. As far as the other two conditions, yes, the shed against the house is basically a cover over a heating system. And I don't think that there's any advantage for us to ask to have the patio to be removed or to be reduced in size. At this point, as was pointed out by Member Berger, it's been there a long time. And the damage there, it's a plus or minus what we would actually achieve by having it removed. I do think that the covenant is a good idea. I know that the applicant was not in favor of it that night we had the discussion, but I will go along with my board members here in suggesting that this is something that we will be looking to have in order to approve this application. So I am in concert with my two fellow board members on this one.
I as well, and I just want to say that with regard to that shed, I wrestled with that a little bit too because of the time frame. There's something to say for pre-existing non-conforming, and that certainly applies from a natural resources special permit standard because it predated from all testimony, and there was no opposing argument as to it didn't. So from an Nrsp, it certainly did fit the pre-existing non-conforming, but when it comes to side yard setbacks being nearly 100% variance plus pyramid variance, that really does not predate Euclidean zoning, which predates the 70s. I think it goes back to the 1920s. So I think that we have to be careful, like our board members say, and I am in agreement with the denial of that. I also think it's not that great of a hardship to move it. It's a small shed and can be moved to a more conforming location.
And on the covenant, council, do you need any other information? What we're covenanting?
The covenant would be not to disturb the dune land beyond the patio, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
all the remaining.
that would be a condition
Yeah.
of the approval of the patio remaining where it is and the bin. The main patio.
Hey, you good?
Yep.
Next, we have George and Susan Polsky at 133 Waters Edge in Spring, Suffolk tax map number 300-83-7-53.1. Size and location is 46,482 square feet at 133 Waters Edge in Springs. The description is the in-place reconstruction of 146 linear feet of bulkhead and 14 feet return at the southern end and construction of a new 14-foot return at the northern end of the property, and the construction of a beach access ladder from the bulkhead on a parcel of land containing coastal bluffs, beaches, and tidal surface waters. Relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the town code. The zoning district is A2 residence, VE velocity, and X flood zones. Secret class is type 2. And Denise?
Sure.
This is yours, right?
Yes, it is. This application is very similar to bulkhead replacements that were reviewed by this board in 2018. The bulkhead that's being proposed is to replace 12 old wood piles with new ones and a new 14-foot return. There is no change in the elevation at the top of the bulkhead. No fill or backfill is proposed, and this bulkhead is lower in elevations than the bulkheads to the north and south. The planning department is requesting that the height of the bulkhead match the elevations of the adjacent bulkheads, and I agree with that. It also should be noted that the 25-foot buffer, the revegetation at the top of the bluff, was required by a 2010 determination condition, was removed. And the planning department is recommending that the revegetation plan required by that determination be reestablished. And I agree with those recommendations. For these reasons, I approve this application. I feel it is in compliance with the 255-420 natural resource permit standards for the town code.
Who's next? Who wants to
I'll
go?
go. Yeah, I'm in agreement with my fellow board member, Savarese, on this. I think when we saw the photos, they were pretty dramatic in terms of the field inspection. We saw what was going on both sides of the applicant's property. I think that the recommendation that all the bulkheads match in height is a good one. I think the fact that it's being done in kind in terms of technique and what we hope to see as a finished product. I think at the time we were pretty impressed with the work that had been done parallel to what was there. And we saw the need for the work here. It seems as if an intelligent or a very serviceable plan was put forward to us at the time. But I do want to say that I agree that the condition of approval will have to require the replacement of the vegetated buffer in the above area. That 25-foot buffer was somehow removed, and we don't get much chance to see this very often. Some of these houses never come back in front of us, but when they do, we certainly want to see to it that that buffer is put back in place in kind and up to the standards of the planning department. So I am willing to approve this NRSP under the condition that the buffer does get put back in place. Thank you.
Prior to permit,
Prior to,
issuance of a permit.
okay, prior to issuance. Right.
Yes.
Barry?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with my fellow board members. I'm looking at the plan. We have the plan from First Coastal dated 11/1/21, and it looks nicely laid out for the restoration of the bulkhead. And as far as the height, yes, I'm in agreement that they should make it. I wasn't quite sure though if it was both sides, both ends of their property where the bulkhead, the adjacent bulkheads were higher. Both ends? I thought maybe it was only on one side.
I just think it was
So,
suggested they
I think what
all
happened,
have the same height.
what happened when I did the field report,
Yeah.
I made a statement that it didn't appear that they were higher on the south side, I think it was.
Was it the Simpkins side?
Yeah, the one was, it was high, the one with, if you're looking at the water, to the right was higher, but the one to the right was, to the left was not. So that was my observation, but the TAM does say that it is lower than both of them.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we got it. I think it's fine if we.
And,
raise it to-
and is that a recommendation? that They make it the same height?
It was a recommendation from the
From the
TAM.
TAM, okay. And as far as the 25-foot buffer, absolutely, that has to be done before they get a permit for this project.
I agree. I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
I just got a clarification. The height of this bulkhead needs to meet at least, so you're saying the other two on that blanket are of different heights from each other? So,
Let's get this,
yeah,
Yeah,
let's just make sure.
It's 8 feet, right? Was
Off
what
the
they were
survey.
asking for.
yeah.
Yeah.
To match the elevations of the adjacent bulkheads.
It said adjacent, but just to be safe, we can say to the southern bulkhead.
Yeah, in the TAM, it says north and south. Yeah.
Right, that's, yeah.
So it needs to match the same height as the bulkhead to the south.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
And it does meet
And
it to
not
the
to
north.
exceed.
Yes.
I'll make sure.
There's 2, but not beyond.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Henry Proto at 835 Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk tax number 300-52-1-10.3. Size and location is 20,649 square feet at 835 Montauk Highway and Montauk Beach Development Corp. at map number 1013 in Montauk. The description is to allow a stone staircase, rock wall, and gravel to remain within 100 foot of wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and 3 variances from 255-430 wetland setbacks. Variances of 47 feet, 50 feet, and 50 feet are required to allow existing staircases 53 feet, an existing gravel area 50 feet, an existing rock wall 50 feet from wetlands where 100 foot is required, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The B residence is Zone X. It's a B residence, Zone X flood zone, and secret class is type 2. And Ed, I believe you're gonna.
This is mine. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The hearing for this application was on April 5th, 2022. The survey we were working from was dated July 5th, 2021. There's a long history of involvement by this board with this parcel. A variance application for this property was filed in 1989 by a previous owner who was later withdrawn by the applicant. The property came under its current ownership in 1998. A second application to this board was denied for the construction of a 3,097 square foot house on July 11, 2001. A 2016 determination by the board approved the construction of the residence that now exists on the site, but mandated that a scenic easement be filed over the wetlands that exist on the property. A building permit was issued for the project in 2018. The most recent previous hearing for this parcel was in the fall of 2020. That application was denied January 20th, 2021. At that time, this board found that the additional structures on the property would, and I quote, have an adverse effect and impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood. At the April 5th, 2022 hearing, the applicant's representative, Richard Whalen, suggested that East Hampton Town Building Department had approval was offered to the builder for the stone staircase, although no written record of that verbal approval, suggested verbal approval, now exists. The applicant's representative highlighted the native stone wall that runs east and west along the northern line of the parcel, allowing the parcel's allowable cleared area, which was approved by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as a substitute for a split rail fence at that position. He correctly pointed out that there does not appear to be any degradation to the environment to the north, the wetland side of that stone wall. That stone wall continues, however, to the west and turns to the south along a line where the topography drops off precipitously. It is along the western run of that wall that I particularly have a problem with its installation. The wall, which reaches a height of approximately 6 feet, retains a large amount of fill that was added beyond the approval of the 2016 ZBA determination. That area was to remain vegetated and in its natural condition. The work done by the applicant created a large unapproved platform that was then covered in gravel, which, as has been pointed out in the TAM, is considered a structure by East Hampton Town Code. As way of mitigation for the work improperly done here, the applicant is willing at this time to revegetate a portion of that area. The applicant's representative spent time discussing the impact that the removal of the stone staircase might have on the steep slope that the staircase climbs, and suggested that serious erosion might take place there if the staircase were to be removed. The issue of runoff was discussed at the hearing, and after having it pointed out that a dry well exists in the elevated gravel platform to the west of the stairs, the board heard from the applicant's immediate neighbor to the west, Kathleen Beckman, that her property, existing at a much lower elevation than that of the graveled area, had been experiencing a greater amount of runoff and subsequent damage to the planted areas around her home. At that point, the applicant's representative suggested that his client, Ms. Beckman, would discuss the situation and try to arrive at a potential accord that would allow this application to move forward without complaint. The board never received word of a meeting or agreement being reached between the two. In reference to the stone staircase and the planters that were constructed beyond the approvals granted with the 2016 ZBA determination, I find, as I did in 2021, that an installation that large could not have been completed without being noticed by the applicant or his representatives, and that the restrictions imposed by the 2016 agreement should have been obvious to the applicant and his hired design team. So I find that in reference to 255-4-30, the staircase is in serious violation of the code and was built knowingly beyond the approvals granted in the 2016 determination. In reference to the stone wall, however, I find that the portion that margins the northern edge of the clearable area has a single run of stone to have been installed in a manner that is acceptable and in line with 255-4-30 and this board's previous determination. The stone wall to the west, however, and the material that was deposited behind that wall were installed beyond all previous approvals and is therefore in violation of 255-4-30, in my opinion, and that the applicant's offer to revegetate a portion of the gravelled area is not sufficient to mitigate its installation. Additionally, I find that in reference to 255-4-20, that the effort made here by the applicant does not rise to the level of granting an NRSP for this parcel. So I am willing to approve the native stone wall that marches the north clearing line, but to not approve that same wall along the western edge of the gravelled area, and I'm denying the variance under 255-4-30 for the stone staircase.
Thank you. Terry?
Oh, it's quite thorough. Again, I'm in complete agreement. There was some discussion by the agent, by Rick Whalen, that the staircase is only about 5 feet, farther from where the house was. But as Member Johan has pointed out several times, the approval that was given in 2016 was not an easy approval to give back then. And it was very stringent and had a previous denial. And the staircase, the stone staircase, and the additional, the gravel, and all of this was done without any return to this board and done with no documentation. I too am looking to deny this entire thing. I'm very disturbed by the fact that the homeowner to the west, Ms. Beckman, at 64 South Essex Street, has this problem since this home was built, ongoing, and that nothing was followed up on to try to rectify anything. They say there is a dry well in that gravel area, but that is not adequate, and that gravel area is entirely not adequate. So I too am looking to deny this application in its entirety.
Thank you. Denise?
Okay. All right, I'll start with the stairs to the north and south. The designers worked with the building department before the permit was issued. The building department was on the site during construction, and at no time were any concerns raised. So the question for me became, if it came before us, would we approve it? It's 57 feet from wetlands, and the house isn't much further than that. It does not really do anything to harm the wetlands, and they're located in an area approved for clearing. The big issue for me with this portion of the application is I really think in the future, this board we should actually readdress our own process and add a condition of approval that would state any revisions or changes to this determination must be brought back to the board for modification, for the board's review before you act. So I feel that given the situation and the circumstances, I really don't have a problem with the stairs. The wall that's being requested before us tonight, obviously was never given permission and has changed the natural grade. And I think that should be removed because the wetlands are part of a complex and extensive perch freshwater wetland system. They contain significant quantities of standing water. And we did have a neighbor call in, Kathleen Beckman, called during the public hearing noting that over the last 3 years during storms, runoff has been a problem on the property, and she attributes that adverse effect being caused by the rock wall. The whole gravel area is within the board's allowed clearing, and the applicant is now proposing to revegetate a portion of that while leaving the rest gravel. I think the entire graveled area should be brought back to its natural state. In 2016, the board allowed for clearing 50 feet from the wetland, but did not approve the installation of gravel, which is considered to be a structure under our code. So I am allowing the stairs, but denying the existing rock wall and denying the 50-foot graveled area.
Okay, thank you. You will hear me from time to time talk about if a property has gone before, if there is a ZBA determination on a particular property, I believe that property has gone under scrutiny, and therefore deference has to be given to that previous decision from this board who's looking at that property. In this case, that decision is a recent decision as far as 2016. And I think I was on the board at that time, and I remember distinctly what we discussed and the concerns that we had and the scrutiny that we had on this particular property. I think, Terry, you were on that too.
Yeah.
You were part of that too. So this property from the 2016 determination went under a lot of scrutiny. We talked about the wetlands, which are vital wetlands. We talked about the drainage problems down to the west of the property, and we were very specific as to what was to be done. I find that what was done here with these extra structures to be egregious. Although an argument can be made that, as member Denise has said about the stairs, I find that the regrading of this property is totally in contrary to what the 2016 determination had. I think for purposes, I think that we should spend a little time going through the 5 variance standards just to make sure that we have that covered as well, because I think you'll find that this application does not meet the standards. And the first one is, does the benefit to the applicant from grant of the area variance outweigh any detriment which grant of the variance will cause to the general health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or the town as a whole? And it does not. I do not feel that because of the deviation from the scrutiny of the board in 2016 and the drainage problems that we are seeing, as well as the detriment to the wetlands. Is the area variance to be granted the minimum variance necessary and adequate to alleviate the difficulty causing the applicant to request an area variance? It is not the minimum. They should have adhered to the 2016 determination. Has the applicant shown that the benefit accruing to him from grant of the requested variance outweighs any harm which will be caused to the neighborhood or town, and that the variance requested is the minimum variance needed to alleviate his difficulty while safeguarding the character of the neighborhood and the general welfare of the town? No, I think as well as the reasons I gave above, the mitigation that is offered up here does not outweigh the violation and the egregiousness of this structure. And will the grant of the variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, or will it create detriment to nearby properties? We've already seen testimony of that and had testimony to that. Can the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? And I say yes, they should have adhered to the scrutiny of the 2016 determination. Is there a question? Variance substantial? Yes, absolutely. Will the grant of the variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or the affected area of the town? Yes, we have vital wetlands to the north. We have drainage issues to the west. It was well vetted in the 2016 condition. And so, yes, we have already seen that the environmental conditions will be impacted. And is the variance self-created? Absolutely, it is self-created. So with that, I vote to also deny the entire application.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
to council?
Yeah, I have a
Sure.
question too.
In my statement, I said that I did not oppose the rock wall as it margined the property because that was, in my interpretation, that was following the path of a previously approved wall that DC would require to keep migration of activity from one spot to another. I felt that that was an adequate reason to leave that. And then, of course, as it margins and swings west, we saw that there's a problem. I don't know how to define that. And the other members of the board didn't agree with that or didn't mention it. But I don't know if that's an easy thing for us to have looked at and
I
said,
agree. I was wondering, where do you start and stop with that?
where do you start and stop? And
Yeah.
is that just too much for us to do? We just deny it and have them come back with a whole new plan. But I'm asking council, how do we handle a situation where we want to approve part of a structure and not the other part in this case?
Well, actually, you're the only one that's approving that portion of the wall.
Right.
Based on the notes I just took, there is no consensus on that. So you do not have a majority vote on that. So you would be overruled by your fellow board
Okay.
members.
In this circumstance, I certainly yield to
Maybe we
that.
should talk about that some more. The rock wall you're talking about, where it's one
It's a
layer
single
of
layer,
rocks,
the
a
single layer of rocks.
layer. And it's as it goes west is where it became
Right.
egregious.
It runs approximately along the legal clearing
Right,
area for the
right, and
property,
that
the
was the
2016
DEC
determination.
Was okay with that, so I believe that we were okay with that portion of it,
Right.
but
Correct.
nothing beyond that, yeah. So,
But anyway, I just raise it because it's a
Sure.
point that, for me, I have no problem with it because I think it does follow both the 2016 agreement in terms of allowability and then the recommendations of the DEC. But of course, I have a great problem where it created a problem for the neighbor and it created that platform. I don't know how that's divided upon. So I guess we'd have to go back to a survey and it may be beyond our scope here. Maybe it's simple enough to say we deny it and have to come back for a reassessment some other way. Just a general question. Thank you.
You're correct.
yeah, so what, okay, we're denying this.
You are denying.
We are
We've
denying this.
denied
Yes,
the
you
I
application.
have.
guess my concern is, again, for the neighbor who's already had this negative impact, is what, doesn't something have to be done for this applicant to correct this issue?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not going to get.
And they're going to require, they're going to be required to file an Nrsp to now remove the structure if they remove it,
Right,
right?
right. But they'll have to make that application separately. But you're not approving what's there now.
Okay.
So in denying this, you're asking him to take down the staircase, take down,
Denying this, you're not granting them the variances and
Right,
the
right.
natural resources special
and what
permit.
action does he
We don't
take
get
now?
to, we don't get to bring affirmatively an injunction for, or a reverse injunction affirmatively making them do that, like with geocubes where you
Mhm,
can't,
right.
you know, it takes a court order typically, or the building department or code enforcement to go in and say, you got to get that out of there. Or if you're trying to get a CO for the property,
Right.
obviously, but one can't be issued if those things are still existing. So they would have to come back with a workable solution on how to tackle those issues that were created by the installation of these
Correct.
things.
Thank you.
We do have, as you said, indeed, a very self-created scenario.
Yeah. I mean, they offered a scenic easement over this area that's disturbed now, and partial revegetation, which is totally inadequate for the homeowner to the west.
Right.
Good.
Good.
Thank you. Next, we have Julie Spain and Paul Brochus at 27 Clamshell Avenue in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300. This is 074-05-15. The size and location is 26,291 square feet at 27 Clamshell Avenue, Hands Creek Harbor, Lot 34, map number 4629 in East Hampton, Suffolk, map number 374-515. The description is construct a 28 square foot generator within 100 foot of tidal wetlands and to allow the existing upgraded sanitary system to remain as constructed. A natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and one variance is required. One variance from 255-430 wetland setbacks of 23.9 feet is required to construct a 28 square foot generator, 76 foot 0.1 feet from tidal wetlands where 100 foot is required. and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. This was in my jurisdiction, so I'll go ahead and start. There's two aspects to this application. One is the sanitary system. The sanitary system was changed as a required, I believe it was a leaching field, was a change from the part of the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. The change does not impact the variance or get closer to the water, so it's a nominal change. And right off, I would say because it is IA system as well, we would approve that. Does not worsen the condition of the original termination. The second request is a generator. The generator proposed is located on an equipment pad that is on the landward side of the house. There is existing AC condensers there, and it's going to exist on that pad that's already cleared, and there is a pad there, so there is going to be no further footprint increase from the location of this generator. Also, to the, I think, east of this, there is a reserve that is going down on the, let's say if you're looking at the house from the road, the left side of the house, there is a reserve, so that doesn't impact a neighbor as well. So that's part of the uniqueness of that application, but I think it's a, willing to approve the application because of its proposed location. Next, who wants to go?
I'll go. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add because I think you've covered it. It's in my mind a minor ask. I think that the fact that the generators be located in a spot that we would find acceptable, given the fact that it's under current condition and usage. I think that the reserve alongside of it, as you pointed out, it's to the east of it, provides some protection in that area. I think that we are 75.5 feet from wetlands here with the generator, which is about as far as you can get in an approved location here. And the approval for, I guess it was the IA system. Yeah, the IA system. We had Suffolk County Health Department approval on it. And I think that given the fact that this upgrade is going to be the benefit of the environment as a whole, I'm willing to approve this application.
Okay, yeah, I am in complete agreement. Don't have much more to add. It was a Suffolk County change for the IA system. There's a scenic easement, which was part of the 2019 approval for this applicant. And as already stated a couple of times by my fellow board members, the generator is in the best location it could possibly be in, has no negative impact and no noise impact either, since the reserve area is to the north. Yeah, north of the property. So I too am looking to approve it.
Okay, I think the proposed generator is small in size and landward of the existing residence. There's really no anticipation for any environmental impact. It is in favor. I am in favor that applicant has agreed to a 4,140 square foot scenic easement as part of a previous application is beneficial, and approval for the IA system is to the benefit of the environment. So I feel this does meet the standard for grant of an Nrsp and a variance.
Thank you. Next, we have 133 Mulford Lane, Mulford LLC, at 133 Mulford Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300. There's 106-02-01. The size and location is 6,556 square feet at 133 Mulford Lane in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 123 square foot second story addition to the residence and 103 square foot of second story decking that exceed the town's pyramid setbacks. The relief sought is two variances of 11 feet and 5.5 feet from 235-1172D are required to allow the addition to the residence and decking to be located beyond the town's pyramid regulations on the south and north property lines respectively. Zoning district is A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. And I think, Ed, this is
Yeah.
yours?
I have that, yeah, okay. The board will remember that the hearing for 133 Mulford was on May 3rd, 2022. The survey we were working from was September 9, 2021. The parcel is pre-existing non-conforming. Two variances are required from 255-11-72D of 11 foot and 5.5 feet. And those are pyramid variances. This parcel was in front of the board in 1992, and at that time was granted two variances, one for a 7-foot, one for a 7-foot pyramid variance, and one for 9.6-foot side yard setback. The house lot is small, it's 6,556 square feet, and the lot width is 50 feet at both ends of the parcel. The house itself sits at 5.2 feet from the south property line. Proposed dormer is to be attached. This project was for a proposed dormer in the second floor, additional space. The proposed dormer is to be attached as a projection to the existing dormer and will face west away from the road. The proposed dormer would increase the nonconformity, although the overall height of the structure would not increase. The addition will increase the size of an existing bedroom and not add additional rooms. The lot qualifies for the 4/10 setback rule, which allows for a side yard setback of 8 foot rather than 15. The applicant will install on the site an IA sanitary system, which is not required with this work, which is a benefit and a mitigation for the project as a whole. The TAM notes that any future work on this residence may push it over the threshold that would call for FEMA height requirements. And so we know that we've now gotten to a point where if they come in front of this board again, there may be more serious considerations to be made about the condition of the house and how it sits. Relative to 255-8-50, A through E, I asked whether or not an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood would take place by the addition of this dormer. We just got done discussing in a previous case how pyramid violations are ones we take very seriously here, and we have turned down a number of perfectly presentable applications based on the fact that our pyramid standards have forced us to deny some of those applications. In this case, there may be some other factors involved, and I'd like to go over those. The undesirable change of the character of the neighborhood, I don't believe it does. I think that this dormer faces away from the road. It is not it does not change the overall height of the building, although it does change the mass, and it does increase the nonconformity. Then what they hope to achieve be done by another method. What they're looking to do is to add a small amount of square footage to increase a bedroom here. I don't know that there's another way in which to go about this. Is the variance substantial? The variance is substantial from the viewpoint of the 11-72D, 255-11-72D, because we are asking for two height variances here. Will the variance have an adverse effect on physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood? I would say no. Is this self-created? Well, anything that put forward by the individuals is self-created. In this particular case, because I think that the minimum amount was being done here and that this property does sit as it sits on a very narrow parcel, there's very little that can be done on a house like this if you want to improve it. So even though I do not like the idea of moving forward with approving or extending a nonconformity, I think that it's a reasonable ask by someone in an pre-existing home. And at this point, I am willing to approve this application.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay, this one was a struggle. As we all know, we don't like the pyramid variances. This is a condition where they already have a pyramid variance that was approved way back in 1992. 11 feet. I'm particularly concerned with the south side of this, where the pyramid is the 11-foot variance. And in the project, on the project plans, A1 from Kim and Matt's from General Assembly for the Kim and Matt's residents. The south side is adding 289.25, I believe, additional square footage to the house. Cubic feet, sorry, to this project. And I think that will be, I think that will be detrimental overall. I'm reluctant to approve this project. I know there was a letter of approval from the resident, the neighbor, I guess, that lives on the south side, but as we know, these variances go into perpetuity. And I'm also concerned about the stated that in the TAM that this is coming close. If this were to be approved, it's coming close than almost anything else done. I'm a little bit, I was torn on it because they are offering the IA system. So I was trying to weigh the benefit on the, on the runoff and, the septic versus the impact that this visually will have. And I think I'm still going to deny the variances on this for that reason, particularly because of the south side.
Needs?
Okay. This is, of course, a very small lot. It's 6,500 square feet. Previous boards have already approved a 7-foot variance from Pyramid in 1992, and the board also granted a 9.6-foot variance from side yard setbacks. I don't feel that this is in keeping with 255-850 of the town code because it is an undersized lot, and I don't feel it's suitable for additional development. And I do think that the applicant is voluntarily installing an IA system, which is commendable, but at the same time, it does not mean that as a board, we should allow additional construction on a lot this size. And this is proposed project does increase the nonconformity. So for those reasons, I am denying this application. I don't feel it meets the variance standards of 255-850 of the East Hampton Town Code.
Thank you. Interesting. Me too. I'm sort of I was on the fence on this. I was more in the denial because of the pyramid, and I think I still am on the denial. I think I agree with my two other board members on the denial for the although I think our vice chair gives a very compelling argument for the approval. I think that due to the size of the lot and the nonconformity of the lot, again, there was zoning boards that have looked at this in the past. I think I would be in favor of also denying this application. Regarding the proposed mitigation of the IA septic system, although that's applaudable, I more look at IA systems mitigating environmental issues than pyramid variations, and I think we have to be careful with that as a board. So I will go along with my two other members in denial of this application. Thank you. Next one, Michael and Leslie Ricken. At 22 Dune Lane is going to be tabled. We will be discussing that later on the agenda. Next, we have Leanne Jody Hinchin at 25 Seaside Avenue in Montauk. Suffolk tax map number 300-032-04-37. Size and location is 22,948.1 square foot. At 25 Seaside Avenue, Seaside Shores, Block 600, Lot 4, map number 1518 in Montauk. The description is to demolish an existing non-conforming garden and shed, an existing brick walkway, an existing 406 square foot front deck, and to construct a new 655 square foot deck with 64 square foot of stairs, 102 square foot basement access, 707 square foot patio with retaining wall, a new deer fence with driveway gate, replace windows and doors, and 64 square foot of new clearing on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. Relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 5 variances are required for this application. Variances of 19 feet, 35 feet, 37.5 feet, 37.5 feet, and 55.5 feet are required. Before 255-430 of the Town Code, in order to construct the proposed deck approximately 81 feet, basement entry 65 feet, patio 62.5 feet, retaining wall 62.5 feet, and deer fence with driveway gate approximately 44.5 feet for more freshwater wetlands, where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X, flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Is this you, Terry?
No, it's me.
No,
Is you in?
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board will remember that the hearing for Hinchin was on May 24th, 2022. The survey we were working on was from May 1st, 2022. I just want to make sure that's correct.
Yeah,
Is that what
that's
you have,
correct.
2022? Okay, thank you. The lot size here is 19,338.6 square feet. As was mentioned, both the lot coverage permitted and the clearing permitted are well under what's allowable on this lot. 5 variances are needed for the construction of the deck, the stairs, and the basement access. Previously in front of the board, this was previously in front of the board in 2021, but the application was pulled before a decision was rendered. As seen at the time of the hearing, this is a heavily vegetated lot that affords protections on 3 sides of the residence. There are, however, a good many invasive species present, and among those buffers including Russian olive, Japanese honeysuckle, devil's walking stick, bittersweet, and mile-a-minute vine, to name a few. Only an observation. Proposed deck has been moved from the rear. The previously proposed deck at the previous application was suggested to be mounted to the rear of the house, closest to the wetlands that are on this property. Now that proposed deck has been moved from the rear of the north side to the south or roadside, and it is in more conforming location. The variants have been reduced, and this is a quote in the TAM, to some of the most conforming locations available on this lot. Since the last time, it's been agreed by the applicant to remove the raised garden and the storage shed, which sit to the north side of the house and were items of concern for the board at the time of initial review. The applicant has agreed to revegetate approximately half of the now mowed lawn area to the north of the house, which should help to protect the wetlands that exist to the northeast portion of this parcel. They will also add dry walls or gutters to reduce runoff, as none exist at this time. The deer fence that's requested is located in places where it will do the least amount of potential harm to the wetlands, that's according to the TAM, and to the north of the wetlands, to the north, and to the wetlands to the south are located across Seaside Avenue. They've also suggested or volunteered to remove an existing brick walkway, which was a concern to the board. The applicant has received the New York State DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, approval for the project as suggested in January 11th, 2021. Planning Department has agreed that revegetation can take place if this application is approved before the issuance of the CO, and so it gives more time to allow for an adequate planting season. The revegetated buffer is not covered by an easement, but will have a covenant placed over it to ensure that it stays in place. The proposed scenic easement covers now, at this point, approximately 1/3 of the parcel. Nrsp standards were asked to consider 255-4-20 and 255-4-21. Call for us to determine that several things. One is the preservation of natural resources, one is to be assured that we've done our best to preserve all natural resources, and that all structures be located in a place that will do the least possible harm to the natural resources. The alternative reasonable use of the property must be explored. That the alternative designs have been considered for the project as proposed, and that under 255-40, the compatibility with the surrounding area and that undue disturbance of the environment has been minimized. On all of these, I think I look on this application positively. I think The initial take on this that we considered last fall but never ruled on was one that had problems that at that time we would have been more concerned with. We now only have on the north side, which is the wetland side located here, just the access staircase to the lower level, which is a legal first floor in this house. That's the only thing on the north side. Everything else has been moved to the south side, closer to the road and lessen damage. I don't believe this provides a detriment to the neighborhood. I don't think that the architecture and that the deck that's as it exists is going to be in any way a detriment. I think that the proposed scenic easement certainly has been an important part of this whole process. I think the revegetation of the buffer is important. And I think that there's been a reasonable effort on the part of the applicant to research and to seek out better ways to approach the project than had originally been suggested. So for these reasons, I am now willing to approve this application.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay, once again, I'm in agreement. I do applaud the applicant. They did withdraw the original application from the hearing we had, I think it was at least a year ago, and did take to heart the discussions of that previous hearing. And I see that this is a result, this is the fruition of all that thought that was put into this. I agree completely. Now, in the TAM, it states that even in 2018, the rear of the property was largely uncleared with small yard space, and that was cleared in order to construct the garden and to put the large shed basically in the area near the wetlands. And I think the applicant in this case has totally corrected that situation. They're removing the garden, they're removing the shed, and they are revegetating that entire buffer, the 35-foot buffer area. And then beyond that, they do have the proposed scenic easement at 7,508 square feet to keep that preservation of the wetlands. And again, as member Johan has stated, the window well in the rear of the house is going to be removed for the new proposed basement access. That is the only piece of this project that is in the northern side of the house. I also agree that they did the redesign to add the patio and the additional patio, all in the south side in front of the house, all away from the area of the wetlands. Well, I too am looking to approve this. I think they did some harm in the environment back in somewhere around 2018, and I think they're correcting that in this application, and I'm looking to approve it.
Well,
Denise?
I agree. I'm not going to repeat everything that was just said. I agree with my fellow board members. I do believe this application is in compliance with 255-420, 255-850, and 255-551, and I'm in favor of this application for the reasons already stated.
Thank you. I too am in favor of approving this application. Thank you for a thorough report go through on that. And I do applaud the applicant for coming back with a very viable application. So with that, look to approve it. Thank you. Next, we have Nicholas Nagler at 369 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-128-01-25. Size and location is 33,291 square feet at 369 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett. The description is to relocate an existing two-story residence, attached garage and accessory structure landward, and install a new sanitary system on a parcel of land containing barrier, primary dunes, beaches, tidal surface waters, and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the Town Code and any other relief necessary. The residence is currently located contiguous or partially seaward of the dune crest, and the residence and accessory building are proposed to be located approximately 50 feet and 117 foot respectively from the primary dune crest. Zoning district is A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and BE flood zone, elevation 12. Secret class is type 2. Who's got this?
Mine as well.
Thank you, Ed. Go for it.
The hearing for Nagler was conducted on April 19th, 2022. The survey we were working from at that time was from August 27th, 2019. This application required an Nrsp and no variances. And a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permit for the project was issued and dated in July of 2021. This parcel is under present ownership since 2004. The parcel has been in front of this board in 2007 for deck conditions and in 2013 for reconstruction of the concrete bulkhead. It's a sizable lot. The lot size here is 33,291 square feet. The building coverage that's projected or proposed here will remain the same at 4,526 feet. The total coverage will be reduced from 9,993 feet to 8,928 feet. That's a 1,065 foot difference. Clearing allowed here is 17,567 feet. The existing clearing at this point is 13,019 feet. The proposed is 14,897, which is an increase of 1,874 feet. Drew Bennett represented the applicant and presented the plan to move the existing structure in landward and away from the shore by approximately 55 feet. He asserted that the house move would take place entirely landward of the concrete bulkhead, that no disturbance would happen on the shoreline. The move will shift the house in one or possibly two pieces to a location on top of wood pilings to be set on the landward side of the existing structure. A separate detached building will also move southward to allow for the placement of the primary residence. A new septic system is to be installed in the southeast corner of the parcel in the most conforming location available. It was suggested by Drew Bennett at the time, after we questioned him about the removal of what is some very attractive vegetation that's on the site, that mature vegetation would be, any of that mature vegetation is to be disturbed or removed by the relocation of the residence will be bowled and transplanted by the applicant, and that was at his suggestion. The bulkhead currently that's on the property currently sits at a slight angle to the shore. The house location will be adjusted to make it more parallel to the shore when it's moved to its new location. The applicant has agreed to remove the stone armoring that has been placed both east and west of the bulkhead, but has chosen to leave the bulkhead in place. The board's recommendation would have been to have the bulkhead removed, but its installation predates its placed approximately in 1975, the establishment of zoning regulations that would have required its removal. In all, the current plan for the move landward and the residents appear to be well thought out and planned, and the board has generally encouraged similar moves where practicable. It is important to note that the applicant appears to be a good steward of the land in terms of lot usage. So under the guidance of 255-4-20, I find that the effort being made here to move the residence and sanitary system to more conforming locations while doing a minimum amount of damage environmentally during the move, and that the relocation of the house and the outbuilding will not unduly degrade the environment or significantly change the character of the neighborhood. And so at this time, I am willing to grant the Nrsp for this project. I will say that the bulkhead, if it remains, will be problematic in the future. We all feel that, but I don't think it's within our jurisdiction at this time to do anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry?
Okay, once again, I'm in agreement. I'm looking at the site plan C1 dated 1/12/20, I believe. And This is it's retreating from the shoreline. There are a number of things in the TAM. Number one, that the planning department very much encouraged this project and this application, and states that, although not compliant with the 75-foot coastal setback standard, the 50-foot setback proposed is a significant improvement that reduces the exposure of the residents to the coastal erosion and flooding. There will be a new on-site wastewater treatment proposed and approximately 120 feet from the shoreline. There will be revegetation with beach grass behind the bulkhead, the concrete bulkhead. Any area that gets cleared or disturbed there will be revegetated. To me, it's all good. It's a major improvement in the natural resources, the coastal, the safety of the house, and I'm looking to approve this NRSP.
Thank you. Denise?
Well, I think at the end of our public hearing, we did request additional information, like the methodology and how this was going to take place. And we have not received that information. So I don't know what I'm approving. I mean, I don't know the equipment that's going to be placed on this property. I don't know how this is going to take place. If we did receive the information that we requested, would we have been able to review it and work together? But since the documentation was not submitted, I don't know how I can say yes to an NRSP when I don't know, or I don't have a protocol in front of me that addresses the natural resources. So I think it's a commendable project. I was very much looking forward to going forward with this, but based on the lack of information, I just can't. So because we have not a drop of information, we're allowing this to just happen. We don't have any set idea of timetable. So for those reasons, I do not feel this is in compliance with the NRSP standards. I'm denying the application.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually in favor of approving the application. I think it's a commendable application. I know that we discussed the protocol, and Drew Bennett, being a very qualified engineer, discussed the sequences that was happening, which I am satisfied with. The house will either be cut in half. We discussed the house being raised first, the piles being drawn, and the house being brought over. And that, to me, being in the construction field for a very long time, I feel is doable. And I actually think the house will be probably moved in one piece. I've seen it many times, and I think that due to the fact that it is on piles, will have a minimal impact on the existing conditions of the property, as he testified. I commend this property, and I look forward to approving it. Thank you.
Council?
Yeah.
I think I gave you the wrong date of the site plan I was looking at. It should be 7/14/21.
Okay.
Denise, I would only say, relative to what you have to say, that what's on paper is absolutely important. And I think protocols are really essential for us in all of these sensitive projects. But Drew Bennett at the time was questioned both by me and by the chair
Yeah, I
about
was
certain
present.
aspects of it. And I thought that, again, while it's not on paper, Drew Bennett saying that this move would take place strictly landward of the bulkhead, and disturbance to the beach would be a minimum. So we'd only be talking about areas that were previously disturbed, gave me confidence enough to move forward with my approval. But I
Yeah,
certainly understand your reticence.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I wish I had that same confidence.
Thank you.
And they do accept all the recommended
And I
project
do think on a
conditions.
project like this, that we should have a plan. And you don't know what could happen once they move this house. It's a big house.
Okay. We can move on now to other decisions. We have Clifford Shapiro at 8 Ocean Lane in Amagansett. Suffolk Tax Map number 300-176-03-10. And the engineering firm is requesting for 2 additional weeks or until July 26, 2022 to submit the shed foundation plan.
There's a conflict, isn't it? 2 additional weeks is more than July 26th, isn't it?
It was 2 additional weeks from what's the date of the letter?
I was looking at the timetable that you have your spreadsheet, and it's already July 26 on there.
Yeah, I mean, this was submitted on July 13th.
You were-
We had a prior-
You were anticipating it?
Sorry. I'm just wrecking stuff. Okay. You had a prior request to keep it open, and that was made on June 27th, and that was until July 12th. So obviously, this was on the heels of
Okay.
that because they're still waiting for this
It's 2 weeks.
document that we want them to put in.
But if we approve it tonight, we're only by the 26th, we're giving them 1 week from tonight.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what they asked for. That's the only thing you can give them. Do I have a motion?
Gansett, who wants to make that?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
In the case of Clifford Shapiro of 8 Ocean Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-176-03-110, we have to make a proposal to grant the extension of time for 2 weeks, from 2 weeks from the point of that it was requested up until July 26, 2022, in order to submit the shed foundation plan.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Next is Michael and Leslie Recon, which we tabled earlier in 22 Dune Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-176-04-07. And that's the request to reopen the record until July 31st, 2022 in order to submit a revegetation plan.
Okay.
Any questions, any
Well,
discussion?
this was closed. It was one of the items we had.
No, it's
suggested.
till July 31st, so.
Right.
The letter was from July 1.
Oh, okay.
So we'll need a motion
Oh, to reopen it?
yeah, to
Okay.
reopen.
So I will make a motion for Michael and Leslie Rycon at 22 Dune Lane, Amagansett, tax map 300-176-04-07 to reopen the record until July 31st, 2022.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. We now move on to extensions of time, and the first one is John Senior at 200 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-152-01-10, and that's an extension for a 2015 Nrsp application. Any,
Yes.
Tyler, you
Sorry.
want to just
Tyler,
brief us on this quick?
Yeah. I was taking notes. Okay. So, excuse me. So Lenny drew this up. This was a 2015 application. Appears that no work has been done on the property as of yet. A building permit has not been issued. They did submit an application request to the planning department for us to sign off on a building permit, and that was done back in May. They will need to do a modification of the original determination to reflect an IA sanitary system. Excuse me, because the original determination is so old that wasn't a requirement back then. Other than that, it looks like they're ready for an extension of time.
Thank you.
Can you clarify what you just said? I'm sorry about
Sure.
that.
So the original determination was back in 2015, and they had a sanitary upgrade, but it wasn't an IEA system
Okay.
because it's required as
As we
of
require
today.
now.
Now it's going to be
Probably
required.
requires a modification to do that.
Okay, that's part of what we're agreeing to.
We're making a motion?
I'll make the motion, sure. For who?
John
It's for
Senior.
John Senior, yeah. Then in the matter of John Senior of 200 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-152-01-110. I'll make a motion to grant an extension of time. For how long?
Typically 1 year, no? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 1 year.
unless there was some
Okay,
specific.
extension of time for 1 year.
A second.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Anthony Malillo at 31 Gilbert's Path in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-151-0 3-22, and that's an extension for 2018 variance and NRSP application. Tyler?
Sure. So yeah, this got a 2018 zoning board application. The planning department did an inspection of the property back in 2020. We found that the re-veg plan had been implemented and installed, and the residents had been fitted with leaders and gutters. The second story addition and decking had not been undertaken on the property, and only the sanitary system had been installed and interior alterations had been completed. This is the first extension of time on this property. With the planning department also has, or the zoning board has an application for something not related to this extension of time, but that will be on this property in front of you soon.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to accept extension of time?
That's you, Terry.
It's me. Oh, there's
Malillo.
Anthony
Malillo.
Malillo. Oh, okay. I make a motion for Anthony Malillo at 31 Gilbert's Path, Amagansett, tax map 300-151-03-22, to approve the extension of time for the variance in Nrsp.
Second?
I'll concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have 40 Hedges Banks Drive Corp. at 40 Hedges Banks Drive in East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-35-2-6, and the extension time for a 2003 NRSP application. Tyler?
Sure. So yeah, 2003 application. They also had an application in 2021. We had done an inspection of the property. It looks like most of the work from that 2003 application is done.
So this is for a C of O?
Correct. And there were some issues, but those issues were resolved with the application that the board then approved. I think it was some fencing was what the 2021 application was for. So those issues were resolved. So they're ready for a C of O on this, unless they go for a building permit on the 2021 application as well. But regardless, that there essentially looks like they're ready for a CO.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to accept the extension of time for 40 Hedges Banks Drive in Corp. and 40 Hedges Banks Drive in East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-35-2-6.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you. Next, we have Sokolin at 91 Surfside Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk tax map number 300-51-3-6, and that's extension for 2019 NRSP and variance application.
Sure. So this application was for swimming pools and some decking and allow a spiral staircase to remain. It doesn't look like any work has been completed on the property, and this is their first extension of time request.
Is that, are you showing us?
First extension of time.
It's this property here.
Oh, is that, I thought, is that the, okay.
So I think there's like a spiral staircase on the decking
Yeah,
over here
and this is the one
somewhere.
where they moved the pool, or the,
Yeah, I can't remember. There is a pool.
this was Mike's, I think.
I think they might have moved it to the front yard. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the
okay.
specifics of it. It
And then
wasn't-
there was a change on the parking area. They haven't done anything yet? Okay, 2019, okay. Yeah, I will make a motion on Suckling at 91 Surfside Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-051-03-6, to allow the extension of time.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Trippy at 7 Brisbane Road, Montauk, Suffolk tax map number 300-30-3-3, the extension for 2008 NRSP and variance application.
Okay, so this is on Brisbane. This was an application for two-story residence, patio decking, sanitary system, and clearing. Doesn't look like any work has been completed. The application did say that construction has been initiated, but I presume that was maybe off-site work or other permits being granted, because nothing doesn't look like anything's happened on the property. But they're looking for an extension of time in order to maintain their valid permit.
And this is for, it's on it. It's an empty lot, empty
Yeah, it's
property
currently emptied and wooded. Yeah,
from 2003?
14
No,
years.
2008.
Oh, 2008. Well, it's almost as
it's
bad.
getting older. Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting old.
yeah. Okay, you
The
think nothing's
NRSP is
happened.
for what, Tyler? Are there wetlands nearby?
Yes, the parcel, it was granted Variances and then a modification in order to construct a 1,300 square foot two-story residence, patio, decking, sanitary, and clearing. Wetlands would be, where are we? Across the street, maybe? Can't remember the specifics on this one. I can look it up.
And they said, so that would need a sanitary change also, right? Eventually?
Yes, if, yeah, it would
A modification for that? so-
require, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
It's,
go ahead. What's
yeah,
your,
no, it's just getting old.
I think
and there's
this
a lot
one-
of changes.
I think we almost should approve it, but
Group survey, if you'd
yeah,
like.
I mean, the wetlands have probably not have changed drastically. That's why we look at these, is to see if there's a change in conditions of the environment, right? So
Wetlands are over
what's your
here.
feeling on that, Tyler?
Do you believe that it's changed dramatically? I doubt they've changed significantly. It's
Right.
a depression wetland over here. It's probably these areas, were filled in years ago in order to construct residences prior to modern zoning. So I would be surprised if these have changed at all, or if not a few feet here or there.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll give them another year.
I mean, one thing we can do, I mean, I'll throw this out there, is probably condition the extension of time on the next extension of a reflagging or something,
Yeah,
right?
that would be the concern, 14
Yeah.
years. has
Yeah.
passed.
Right?
Certainly.
Maybe
give them
that
1
should be
year.
our motion, Terry, is the condition on our, well, for the next extension of time to have a reflagging.
So in other words, you give them a year,
Give
but
them this
conditioned
year.
on the fact
Right.
that if they come back for another extension, they would have to propose, they would have to give a reflagging with that application.
Yeah,
I get it.
it'll be 50 years.
And
out
even
at
this
that
year,
point.
if they go for a permit, they'd still have to address the sanitary changes.
Right, that would be part of that permit
There are
anyway.
wetlands on the property too along the road.
Okay, so for Trippy at 7 Brisbane Road in Montauk, tax map 300-030-03-3, make a motion to approve this extension of time for 1 more year, conditioned on new flagging being obtained before, in
Prior to
order
any
to,
subsequent
prior
application.
to a subsequent.
Or subsequent approvals,
We're
right?
talking a lot, yeah.
I second.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Tyson Associates LLC at 12 Tyson Lane in East Hampton. Suffolk tax map number 300-30-3-3, an extension for 2011 Nrsp and variance application.
Sure. So this was for the construction of essentially everything that's on the property right now, back in 2011. The work has been completed. They're looking for a certificate of occupancy at this time. It's also worth noting that the zoning board has a current application, which
Yeah, we
is,
saw this recently.
well, it's actually incomplete right now. I think they wanted some additions off the rear. I can't remember the specifics, but I believe
Right.
it's incomplete right now. Regardless, the work is complete that they got approval for. They're just looking for a CO on that work.
How much of what we're looking at is the property in question here?
Charlotte, let me highlight it.
That whole thing. That's pretty.
That whole
property.
thing?
Yeah,
That.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
that,
okay.
okay.
This has got a long driveway, so it,
All right. I make a motion for Tyson Associates LLC at 12 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, at Suffolk tax map number 300-30-3-3 for an extension of time.
I'll second it.
Okay. Concur.
I concur.
Okay, that completes our extensions of time. Terry, you want to make a motion on the Minutes?
Yes, I did review the minutes.
28th?
I'd like to
and
make a motion to approve the draft minutes for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals for June 28th, 2022, and July 12th, 2022.
I'll second that.
I concur.
I concur as well. We have no resolutions this evening. We will have a lot next time. Thank you. And Vice Chair, we'd like to see a motion to adjourn the meeting and to go into a brief executive session. Council to address the board.
Thank you. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to close the work session of the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals for July 19th, 2022, and to go immediately into executive session.
Second.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Got that, Matt? You good?
Stop reading the notes.
No, this is
Working
from
on it.
Julie.
Give me a second.